Victor, thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast. Um, my first question would be, can you explain to our viewers and listeners what Found actually is for a kind of company?
Yeah, perfect. First of all, Dirk, thanks for having me today. Short synopsis of what Found is. So we're a Zurich-based startup in one of the beating hearts of the European tech scene. Um, what we are basically doing is revolutionizing the world of hiring. Our founders are two true industry veterans that have built both corporate ventures as well as startups, and they are marrying HR services with technology. And the main driver for Found was simple. Hiring hasn't really changed over the course of 200 years, resulting in many people ending up in a job that they don't really like, and many companies hiring talent that doesn't really fit the things that they aspire to hire and attract. So that's
Yeah.
the problem that we're solving.
Okay, because what you already indicated is that Found focuses on recruitment.
Yeah,
You already said that recruitment hasn't fundamentally changed in the last 200 years.
yeah,
But what is wrong with recruitment? What do companies do wrong? What is wrong, I would say, with classic recruitment?
yeah. So I'm not sure if there is like anything wrong in the sense that people are intentionally doing something wrong. I think if we look at the way that recruitment functions, I already alluded to it. It hasn't really changed for 200 years. So there is a kind of an urban legend about Barker, who allegedly founded the first recruitment agency in the 1800s. So that's a long time ago. And if we look at the core fundamentals of how recruitment functions, it hasn't really changed. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term pray and spray, or spray and pray rather.
Yeah, I wrote an
Yeah,
article under that heading. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So if you look at both sides of the marketplace, there is quite a lot of overcommodification. Um, as you also wrote in your article, AI is layered on top of that, which only increases the overcommodification. So the first step is that companies post a job advertisement. Uh, in today's market, that means that maybe 500 people will apply. And once those people have applied, they enter a very data poor process. And that data poor process doesn't really necessarily lead to better hiring outcomes. It's lengthy. It's not enjoyable for both sides of the marketplace. And the result is that 70+% of the people that are in a job, they're simply not happy, or they're not performing to their best capabilities. And if we look at what we are changing, then using a significant amount of relevant data to aid the hiring process will lead to more people being in a job that they not only like, but a job that they will truly love.
Victor, you once told me that the reason why Found exists is the fact that it is a company that wants to move individuals from good to great jobs based on
Yeah.
the personal preferences of the candidate. Now that sounds like a very, let's say, loft-worthy statement, but how have you implemented that?
Yeah. So we basically implemented that over three axes. The first principle that we used is community-based hiring. The second is driving immediate value for talent. And the third is highly accurate matching. So I'll elaborate a bit more on those three components. So what does community-based hiring mean? So at Found, we build communities around certain talent segments, the digital axis of a company, so people that design products, people that build product, and people that sell products, all software-based. And we attract people in a community, and we attract them at the stage that they are still in a job that they like, because the point of departure is moving from a job that you like to a job that you love. We attract them by driving immediate value. And this doesn't always have to be a new job, because they're in essence not actively seeking for that new job. This value can be represented in the form of career coaching that they get from us, peer mentoring, learning and networking, but also having the opportunity to take gamified neuroscience-based assessments that give them insight in their cognitive abilities and their behavioral traits, and if desired, also get a full debrief on those. And then the last and third pillar that we have implemented is highly accurate matching. I alluded to the over-commodification of the marketplace earlier in the conversation, and I think one of the biggest frustrations that we see on both sides of the marketplace is either companies getting irrelevant applications or talent, and I think everyone has a story like this, being approached by a recruiter, a headhunter for a job that is totally and wildly irrelevant. So that's why we've built a matching algorithm that helps us match talent to employers and employers to talent. And one of the North Star metrics that we focus on is the acceptance rate of the moment that we send a match to the talent. Because what this implies is that we send a match that is tailored to what for them is called moving from good to great. And our current acceptance rate is at 88%, and that's something that we're tremendously proud of.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's an impressive number. And is one of the reasons that you come to such a high number, is it also partly due to the technology you're using?
Yeah, so technology is one of the major drivers for how we are able to serve both sides of the marketplace. But it's also technology and right. So
Yeah.
it's technology and a human touch. And I can elaborate perhaps a bit more on how we use technology at Found.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, because that would actually be my next question. Could you tell us something about the underlying technology that Found uses?
Yeah, of course. So if we look at the underlying technology that we use at Found, the main backbone of what we do in our technical core is called building a neural network. And a neural network is a machine learning model that starts making all sorts of associations and connections based on sets of training data that we feed the algorithm. And if you look at what we feed the algorithm, it's two kind of main pieces of data. So it's data about employers and it's data about talent. And what we then start doing is teaching the model what a good match is. And at the very start, we as humans have an influence over what the model is going to produce. But at a certain point in time, the model starts associating and seeing patterns that we can't even see. So in essence, if you train the model enough, then it's going to make connections based on outputs that you have tasked it to obtain. And it's going to make connections that go kind of beyond the human eye. And if you look at the data sets that we provide, so on the talent side, we really look at what we call job preferences. So again, good to great. What does great look like for you? And that's a whole set of kind of hygiene factors, such as where would you like to work, how much would you like to earn, but everything non-CV based. Then we also use a whole host of other data sources, such as the assessment result, the behavioral profiles that creates of people. And then on the employer side, also information about the company, the culture, the type of people that work at that company, and we marry that into in the matching algorithm. We're going to multiple iterations of training. And it's a non-linear process, so very exciting to see that develop. So perhaps if I may add, there is also kind of a second stream of technology that we use that I also want to shed some light on. And I think this is one of the things that will be game-changing for the world of recruitment. And for all the people in talent acquisition that are listening, I know that you're spending a lot of time on doing admin and things that aren't necessarily directly linking to either a hiring manager or to a talent that is going through the process. And we also heavily use technology to make sure that we at Found spend as little time on those less value add tasks that still have to happen. And we can devote all of the time that we spend to having conversations with employers about what are they really looking for and how does that fit in the bigger picture and the strategy that the company is pursuing. And if you look at team fit or if you look at cultural fit, what are the boxes that really need to be ticked? And really double clicking an extra layer there. And on the talent side, vice versa, right? So really having that meaty conversation and not only trying to do a checkbox exercise to say, hey, does this person meet these requirements, but really have a far more in-depth approach. And you only can allow yourself to do that if you use your technology stack wisely to make sure that you kind of cut out all of the noise that is there in the world of talent acquisition.
What I'm very curious about is you said that one of the parameters you feed the system with is culture. How do
Yep.
you operationalize that? How do you do that? How can you make a difference between company A and B in terms of culture? What's the type of information that you feed to the system?
Yeah. So we basically use two sources. One is interviewing with the company and conversations with talent acquisition as well as hiring manager. And then the wonders of the internet. So there are a lot of publicly available sources such as Glassdoor and the likes of other sites like this that will feed you tremendous amounts of data on what company culture is like. And by combining the data that we actively collect by engaging with the company and the publicly available data, you get a fairly accurate insight in what a company culture looks like. And then finally, when we can, we sprinkle a little bit on top, which is information from the people that are already in our community that might be working at company X. And that can really give us the inside information.
Yeah. And can you give an example of, let's say, a culture parameter? Is that something like, for instance, sense of hierarchy or a sense of independence? What are some of the, let's say, cultural parameters that you feed the system with?
Yeah, so one thing that we also look at, and it's not necessarily a direct cultural parameter, but is a strong leading indicator for what type of person might fit in an organization, is the company size and the company stage. We work with both large corporates as well as early stage startups. And if you are joining a large corporate, oftentimes you need to be really good at operating the machine. Because there is already a set framework with set structures.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's great, but for other people, it might feel like suffocation.
Yeah.
If you join an early stage company, then you need to be someone that can build the machine and operate the machine at the same time.
Yeah.
So looking at those, and it's a profoundly different type of person that will fit in those environments. So that's an example of culture that we look at.
Yeah.
And we then kind of can overlay that with the behavioral assessments. So does someone, and behavioral assessment scores are more in the realm of preference rather than performance. So it's not good or bad, it's just different.
Yeah.
So if you look at, for instance, decision-making style, is someone very intuitive in how they make decisions, or is someone very structured? So you have all sorts of working preferences that may indicate that someone could thrive more in one environment over the other. So that's how we overlay those variables with each other.
Okay, well, that's a great example, Victor. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
If I go back to Found, what is your current target market in terms of functions that you recruit individuals for, and also in terms of geography?
Yeah. So we're almost celebrating our 2-year anniversary, and as an early stage venture, it's very important to be super focused. we are going to market, as alluded to, in basically the digital axis of an organization, which has three major profile categories. So people that design software. So these could be product managers, VPs of product, UX, UI specialists, people that build digital products. So these could be engineers, front end, back end, full stack. And then also people that sell software-based products. And if you look at those three segments, we basically do almost a full seniority stack. So we don't really do entry level roles. So usually people that have 2+ years of experience all the way up to VP and C level. If we look at the geography, we're a proud Swiss-based startup, so that has also been very much the initial focus of our go-to-market. And then 6 months ago, we also penetrated the US, and we're steadily building out our US territory as well. And for now, those are going to be the two key focus geographies with those three talent segments. And then we'll look at more expansion, I would say, a couple of years down the road.
Yeah, because do you already have formulated any long-term goals in terms of market expansion? So, for instance, beyond, let's say, the functions you mentioned, and also beyond the US or Switzerland. I mean, are there already concrete ideas, or what stage of development are you in that sense?
Yeah. So if we really think long term,
Yeah.
then
If we dream big.
yeah, if we really dream big, and if we look at why we started this, then as said, right, we believe that there needs to be a profound shift in the way that hiring is done. So if globally hiring would be done the found way, and it doesn't have to even be done by us, right? But if we can set the standard of what hiring looks like, that's really kind of ultimate end goal achieved. So really having this fundamental shift in the way that hiring is done.
Yeah.
What that means is that more people will be in jobs that they love, rather than just like. And I would say a logical next step for us, right? After we've really embedded ourselves as market leading in Switzerland and have a strong footprint in the US, is looking at other European countries to add to the mix. But yeah, let me re-emphasize that for now, the strong focus remains to be Switzerland, the US for those three target groups.
Victor, you already mentioned it a couple of times.
Yeah.
The Found is a Swiss-based startup. Is the fact that Found is Swiss-based, is that an advantage or a disadvantage? Because you could say, well, it gives a relatively limited home market, so to speak. So could you expand on, let's say, the Swissness of the company and whether that's an advantage or a disadvantage?
Yeah. Well, in our pre-conversation, you already alluded to that everything comes at a price. But let me say, Switzerland is a great home turf. And I don't think we're the only company that thinks Switzerland is a great home turf. I think Switzerland has been named the most innovative country in the world for the 14th time by the UN recently. So I think that's already a strong indicator. And Switzerland is really rich in terms of technology and innovation. One of the world's leading universities, ETH and EPFL, are home to Switzerland. So quite a vibrant tech scene. What I think is also great about building your business in Switzerland is that the market is one that is very quality oriented. At the same time, also relatively, I would say, slightly risk averse. So what that means for you as a company is that you better build a very good product in order for you to be able to penetrate the market. So it's really pushing us as a company to build something that is great and of top-notch standard. If I look at the downsides of being a company that originated out of Switzerland, in Switzerland, there is not tremendously deep venture financing. So that venture financing market is relatively small. And also, if you look at the total market size, indeed, as you alluded to, it's also a relatively small market, and it's a very kind of a tight-knit circuit, also because of the diversity in language that it has to offer. But for us, I would say Switzerland as a stepping stone to build a global company is 1,000% a net positive. Because I think if you're able to build a product successfully and launch it in Switzerland, then there is a higher likelihood that you'll also be successful in other markets. And that's actually also what we've seen with our market entry into the US. It's a very different market. But if you build something like with Swiss quality grade and export it to the US, and of course adapt to the local reality and the difference in business climate, I think that's a rather good recipe.
Yeah, it already stood, let's say, quite a demanding acid test in terms of
Yeah,
usability.
We've been pressure tested definitely here in Switzerland.
Yeah. Victor, what I found interesting is you studied organization studies in Tilburg, and
Yep.
subsequently you had an impressive career at a global staffing company, where I think your jobs were mainly aimed at operating the machine that was in place.
Yeah.
And you had a very bright career ahead of you.
Yeah.
What was your motivation to give up that certain corporate future where you had to, let's say, operate a machine and switch to a startup where you had to, co-invent it and help bring it to market, etc. Why? What was your motivation to make that switch in your career?
Yeah. So when I joined Found, we had a bunch of great ideas and like half of a landing page. So it was quite the difference from kind of the mega corp that I'd been working in before. But let me start to say, and this is also something that I tell talent that is part of the Found community. The best career decisions are career decisions in which you don't leave something, but where you join something. So you're moving towards something. And I was having a wonderful time at my former company, but I had this desire deep down inside to do something that was more revolutionary, really shaking up an industry, and an industry that is really near and dear to me. And if I look at a couple of decision-making criteria that I had, is the first thing that I always look at is what can I learn in a role? Because I believe that if I take learning as the core element of my career decisions, then that will pay dividends. That will pay dividends far more than any guiding principle. The second thing that I look at is to what extent do I find the leadership that I will work with inspirational? Because the job can be as cool as it can be, but if you don't work with leaders that inspire you every day, then I don't think you're going to get the most out of yourself. And then very personal, like with investment, time is your biggest ally. So more time in the market usually means higher yields. And I was at a point in my career where I grew really fast within the corporate world. But that also meant that I was kind of entering kind of a golden cage situation. And I thought if I want to do something risky, then I would rather do it early in life. Because if I fail, I've got plenty of time to recuperate and the stakes are less high. So coming back to the first point, learning. I knew that if I would stay in my wonderful corporate environment, that I would become better at what I already could do. And I knew that if I joined Found, I would develop a whole nother skill set. And let me tell you, the Found years have been like dog years. Like my learning has accelerated so much, even more than I thought before. And then the second thing, leadership. Moving to Found or joining Found has been really driven by the vision that our founding team has set out, and the way that they conduct business. And then the last thing is, if you ever have a desire to do something entrepreneurial, then yeah, let me reiterate, time is your biggest ally. So I would encourage everyone to do it sooner rather than later, because this might sound super corny. There is never a perfect moment. And I think the perfect moment is the moment that you decide to take action rather than reminisce about what the future could be. And that's how I ended up at Found. And that also means that if I were ever to join a corporate again, because I hopefully have a very long career ahead of me, then I would be far better at what I would do there, because I've learned so many skills that I would have just never been able to obtain in a corporate. But I think that would also make me a more effective leader in a corporate environment.
Thank you, Victor. That's a beautiful statement and a beautiful end to this interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, Dirk.